Trying to stuff too many goals in your schedule is kind of like my oldest daughter trying to stuff her suitcase. Give it up.
No.
It's not gonna happen.
What do I get if this works?
I don't know, some kind of luggage medal.
Some sort of defeat diaper. You're starting to get worried now, aren't you?
No, I'm thinking you're going to bust your zipper. What, did you have to take a class for this? Is there a certification involved?
This is 3 years of going to visit Mama and Papa.
You go through this every time? What if you have baggage check at the airport? Do you do this in the airport?
No. You do it before you ever
Look,
get
you
there.
were seriously going to bust that. We're down to the last 2 inches, ladies and gentlemen. Oh! Oh! Snap! That just happened.
You guys are so nice.
Thank you. Woo! So today we are finishing off our goal series, which makes me kind of sad because it is so important, and I just feel like not very many people utilize it and capitalize on it. Procrastination, as most everyone will agree, is a killer of your goals and your motivation, and it just saps you from what you really want. And we all struggle with procrastination and not getting things done. So that is the main gist of laying everything out and organizing and automating the processes, is so that you just have to do the things that you know you have to do. Everything is set in your mind. You know where you're trying to go, you know the steps to get there, and all you have to do is break it down into days and get those days worth of work done. So that way it's not overwhelming, it's not freaking you out in your head. You just have to do the work and get it done. And so what I strive to do with these videos is to help you through processes that took me years to kind of get to, years to figure out and tweak and fix. And now I just kind of use this same program. I don't want to say programs, it's not really a program. I just use my same routine every year, and it works really well. Being mindful of where you're going is, I don't know how you get anywhere if you don't know where you're going. I know where I'm going. I know how I'm going to get there. I've made a lot of progress in the last few years, and I plan to just keep rocking it in 2017 and moving it forward. And I want you to have the same feeling. It feels so great to not be scattered, to not be walking aimlessly through your days, to not be in a rut, to not feel on fire and passionate about your life and what you're doing. And this helps for that. And we've already shown some videos. If you're just joining us now, no worries. I'm going to link them down below so you can just pop and watch those. But we broke down our big rocks, and this is what is important to us. I did this in the ICU when I went through my health issues, and it was suddenly crystal clear. Imagine that, what was important in my life. And so once I got focused on, you know, where do I want to be at the end of my life, looking backwards, like what will have mattered? You know, what would I feel really bad about? Like if I didn't have a good relationship with my kids, I would feel really awful. You know, that's like my #1 priority. And all of that became crystal clear. So that was what that list was for. And then we broke it down into a crazy goal sheet that I had you work on. It's 14 different areas, and it talks about, you know, your physical self, your emotional self, a spiritual self, financial, your career, your friendships, you know, any kind of relationships, what you're passionate about, your mind, what you're responsible for. It takes it through every area of your life, and I posted that on the Amazon 360 group so that you could fill it out. I showed you some examples of how I filled it out, and we talked about SMART goals, how to break your goals down, how to word them positively, how to motivate yourself in your wording with your goals. So that's already been done, and you can go back and watch that and do that. Hopefully you have. And that is like the big picture. This right here is our master list. It's long, it's all inclusive. It's like your life in 14 subject areas. It's like your little mini book, your compass, your instruction manual on where you're trying to go. But we still have no idea how to get there. Like, okay, that's great, Tracy, but what the heck? Like, how am I going to get there? So that is what we're going to be talking about today. The last video I did, we covered the schedule. And I showed you my schedule. I even put a schedule form in the Amazon 360 group, so you can, that's all free. So if you're not, I'll put a link here if you want to go check it out, because it's a free group and we just post things and help each other out. So it's awesome. And you can just download that and print it up and kind of work on your own schedule sheet. This is where I really get to the meat of our goals. This was all the mental thought processes, kind of going through the thoughts of our life. Now we're going to put the muscle behind it. And I don't want you to be scattered this year. So this is too much to consume in 1 year. We're not going to get all of our life, goals done in 12 months. So what you need to do is choose 3 or 4 out of that.
I have my list message to me up in my email so that I don't lose it. And just to go ahead and show you, these are the top 4 that I have, and this is kind of how I broke them down, 4 things for each goal.
I chose 4, and I put them in the notes section of my phone. You can put them right alongside this and just staple them together and highlight it. But 4 areas that are really going to have the greatest impact on your life. And this has really helped because it took all of these pages and it really zeroed me in on focusing on 4 areas that I really felt not overwhelmed by. I'm like, okay, I can do 4 things in 12 months. I can be striving towards each one of these. One is to finish my book. I started my book with my dad. It was kind of hard to get back into that because, he was gone. And so I want to complete that for both of us. And I had to break down, how do I do that? And then I proceed to say, to break it down into small steps that I'm going to do every month until that object is complete. Now, I might meet all 4 of these goals before the end of the year, and that would be great because then I can hit other areas on my goal sheet. See that I'm not mindful of these. So now that I've written it down, now that I've thought about it, I already kind of incorporate that, even though it's not on my top 4. So you'll see things like that. Just the process of doing this really promotes a lot of growth for you. And then I have my focused areas, my 4 areas with my 4 action steps associated with them that breaks that down into very doable steps. So I'm not overwhelmed and I know what I'm doing every day. That you're zeroed in and you're focused, you create your schedule. The schedule is where you put your 4 goals into your everyday. That you're going to increase your Amazon business by 20,000 this year, but unless you actually have defined action steps in order to meet that goal, and unless you're actually creating the time to produce that effort, it's not going to happen. And I think that's where most of the goals that people have falter, is that they don't have it in their schedule. So schedules are really important, especially for us. We work at home and we have to kind of be self-initiating and get accountable and not get distracted by other things. And this is urgent for us because we are the ones that are going to struggle with our schedule the most. It's not like we're going off to work 9 hours a day and we're sitting at a desk and kind of forced into that situation. We're actually in a position where we have a lot of leeway, which is why we do this, but also we need to set some healthy parameters so that we are productive and not upset with ourselves that we're not accomplishing the things that we want to accomplish. Everything that's important to you that you do right now needs to be on your schedule. And so I have silly things like fun time. People like, you actually put fun in your schedule. And I actually do, because I want to remind myself to take a break and play with my kids. So I put everything that I want to do into that schedule. Now, there's three other areas that I define into list. One, which I don't want to show you the whole thing, but one is a budget. So I'm going to put the budget worksheet in the Amazon 360 group so that you can work through your own budget. So why is it important to do a budget anyway? Well, if you don't know where you stand, even if you're in a position that you don't necessarily want to be in, it's good to know that. What is the least amount of money that you need to make to pay your bills? What is the money that you would like to have so that you can have those family vacations? Finding where you are financially is very important because it not only tells you your starting place, but it tells you where you want to end up. And so I have a budget laid out. You can see there's a lot of writing all over it. And that's because in my head, I'm working out, can I minimize any of those bills, which I've been able to do quite a bit, surprisingly so. And then I can think about what luxury items is important to me, like traveling, memory making, activity related type of stuff is important to me. So I add that in my budget. And then that's the number that I need to make every month. And then I break that down into, so what does that mean I need to make every week? And then I break that down into my income producing activities. How much do I need to make on Amazon? How much do I need to make on eBay? How much do I need to make with my website? Everything that I'm creating an income from, I tie into that weekly rate. All of you know that I try to improve my income every month. So even if it's by 10 bucks, I want next month to be better than this month. I want to always be growing. All right, the next list that I do, which I'm not sure if it will pertain to you, but if you have kids, sometimes even for healthy marriages, I break down the chores. I write down everything that needs to be done, everything, from mowing the yard, the dishes, taking out the trash, deep cleaning the house, weed eating, the car cleaning, everything that needs to be done to maintain our life, to maintain what we have. There's a lot of people here. There's 10 in our family. So I break it down into each person. And that way I'm not taking the bulk of everything that's going on in the house because I'm working at home, or that I'm a female because we have a tendency to do that in both circumstances. So this way it's more level. It's across the board. No one's not doing anything. Even the little ones have little chores. Every year I put all the items that we have to do on postcards, and then we lay the postcards out, and we start with the youngest. A lot of it, like obviously the youngest one can't mow the yard. So we're mindful of that as we're picking, but I allow everybody to pick their chores, and that helps throughout the year because no one can complain because they chose it. And so when they start to complain, I just say, hey, you picked your chore, and next year you can pick something else if you want to. So that helps tremendously. And the last one is the meal plan. I write down the meal plan, and this is why. Because the more that you can automate in your life, the more time that you will have available. And when I produced my schedule, I really set myself up to have successful days because I knew how my days were going to be spent. And they were being spent on items that were important to me as per my goal sheet. So this was the key to giving me what I wanted in my life. I just want you to try it. Like, just try it for this year and then see if it doesn't make a difference. And then if it doesn't, then message me and say, Tracy, it didn't make a difference. But I really think that it will. Then when you go through every part of your day, you just make sure that you know what you're doing and it's organized. For example, I have to cook every day. So anything that I have to do, I just make sure I know what I'm doing. So when it's cooking time, I have my meal plan. I know what meals I'm making. I know what day I'm going to the grocery store and buying all the ingredients for these meals. If I don't have to redo the meal plan all the time, then I don't have to sit down, think about what I want to cook, or be digging through my pantry trying to find something and then rush into the grocery store, which takes an hour, and coming back. I don't have to do any of that. Everything is laid out. I know what I'm cooking this week. I know what my grocery list is. I go to the grocery store when I'm already in town on Sundays. I get everything I need. I'm set for the week. And then I could just change the meal plans. I have 4 of them. So we're not, eating the same food every week. But it's the same thing month after month after month. I don't have to sit and think and recreate the wheel every time I want to feed my family. You can do that with anything. When I come into my office, let me show you. I know what I'm getting done every day in my office. And then I write it all out. So when I come into my office, I grab my clipboard and I just get to work. I don't have to sit there and think, well, what am I doing? And try to recreate the wheel at work. So with your schedule, you do that for everything. Every time you're in an activity, like for me, I have homeschooling, I know right what I have to do. Everything is organized. If I'm taking vitamins, my vitamin drawer is organized. I just go in and I know right what I'm taking. My homeschool section's organized. My home is organized. And that way, everything just flows effortlessly. It really helps a lot. Behind me, you see the goal board. These are ways that I want to make an income. So I diversify my income streams. You probably know that already. I look at it like a big piece of pie and everything is a sliver of the pie and they each produce an income. And that way, if Amazon, if I ever had an issue or had my account closed down, I would still have eBay or Etsy or other e-commerce sites. I have my website development where I can have, courses and blogs and advertising. I have the YouTube channel that produces a little, not a lot, but it does produce the book writing and the social media. And all of these are ways that I have an income stream that I can be focusing on and working towards. It's just up there. And so I can kind of drink my coffee and sit and look at it and reflect and work towards those goals. So this is what I have for you, and I really hope you'll give it a go this year. I'd like to hear your progress. If you could, hit the subscribe button. That helps me. Thumbs up if it was helpful. But then comment down below. Tell me what your experience has been with goal creating, organizing your life, your schedule, anything that we've been talking about. I'd like to know if you think it's worked. Give other tips. I know my system's not the most perfect system out there, I'm sure. So, add your tips so that I'd love to incorporate them too. Thanks, and I'll see you next video.